very much, Carl, and can I first of all endorse what Sama said about you. Not much goes on that you don't know about here. It's a bit scary sometimes, actually. But no, absolutely endorse your sentiments there, Carl, and yours, Sama. This month, in fact, just in the last week, was the anniversary of the massacre at Srebrenica. And it's great, you know, that today's rally has been co-organised by the Remembering Srebrenica charity. I was a new MP back in the 1990s. I was quite a young MP in the 1990s. And up to that point, you know, all of my political activity, I'd been involved in the peace movement. I'd spent my time opposing military interventions and so on. And it just horrified me, and it horrified so many other people at that time, that even with that background, that the rest of us looked on and didn't stop what was happening in Bosnia. Just as it was horrifying that we looked on and we didn't stop or intervene to stop the kind of thing that went on just a couple of years around then in Rwanda as well. And it all came back to me last week. Last week there was an event, again organised by Remembering Srebrenica, at the Foreign Office in London. It was addressed by people who had survived the massacres in Srebrenica.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
People who themselves had not just witnessed others being rounded up and shot, but they were people who themselves had been rounded up and shot. But they managed to survive. It was accidental that they survived when so many others didn't survive. Their testimonies were just absolutely chilling about what people could do to each other. And the most chilling thing of all that they said when they were addressing that event was it wasn't strangers who did it, all too often. It was people like them. People who just lived in the next town, the next village, maybe people who just lived down the road. And what they said was important. One of those survivors, his words stay with me, said, the reason we need to carry on doing things like this is to remember. Remember, and he said, that all children have got the right to learn what happened and not to bring up new generations full of hatred. And I think we remember that today after the massacre in Nice just a few days ago. And that's what today's rally is about too. Bosnia was the product of specific circumstances, specific history. It would be crazy to compare Britain in 2016 or Birmingham in 2016 to Bosnia in the 1990s. I'm not asking anybody to draw any parallels between the growth of hate and intolerance in Britain today and that in Bosnia in the 1990s. It is important to get the growth of hate when we talk about it and stand up against it in our country in perspective. There was a meeting just a week or so ago between the MPs and the police and crime commissioner, and there is growth in hate crime, for sure there is, but it's all in our city. We also need to understand it is not on the scale that sometimes we're led to believe. But even recognising that, the words of that Srebrenica survivor were still important. It's important to understand that we all have our own responsibility, at whatever level we're at, to reject the politics of hate and to conduct ourselves in the way we go about our politics, our daily lives, in ways that demonstrates that we reject the politics of hate. It's about celebrating those examples, and there are many in our city, which show the best of people coming together, to show and to demonstrate that diversity of neighbours does not mean and must not mean division between neighbours. It's a source of strength and it's a demonstration of our unity as a city. But you know, if we want people to listen when we say those things, we need to address grievances too. Because when people do feel disenfranchised, if they feel left out, if they feel they're lacking in any expectation that anything's ever really going to change. You see that in my own constituency of Northfield. It's on the edge of the city. All too often people there feel on the edge of decision making and politics too. It's the low pay capital, not just of Birmingham, but of Britain. And if you're white and working class in Britain today, you've got the least chance of getting to university, or thinking probably that a university education is ever even for you. And that's why unity, yes, it's about togetherness, but it's about confronting injustice too. Whether that injustice is about people from ethnic minorities in the country, and yes, if it's injustice against white working class people too. If we say we are one, we've got to mean it for both. On Friday just gone, my friend, the Labour MP Jo Cox, was finally laid to rest in Yorkshire. Her husband, Brendan, said something that I think resonates with all of us. He said on Friday that he was thinking about all the victims of hatred up and down the country. And what he said was that Jo would ask us not to fight hate with hate, but to draw together, to drain the swamp that extremism breeds in. Those are wise words, and always remembering those words, it's important we remember those words that will always be associated with Jo. That we all have more in common than that which divides us. That's the same message as we are celebrating today. As you said, Carl, that word is unity. It's about us saying we are one Birmingham. Thank you.